Deduction Campaign Coordinator Joseph Chishimba has staged a lawn protest in Lusaka demanding for the removal of double interest on bursary loans and the monthly deductions of 2.5% of the salaries, as well as the suspension of monthly deductions until the economy stabilizes. Mr. Chishimba says whilst in opposition, President Hakainde Hichilema has promised the vulnerable youths that he was going to address these issues once he is elected into power, but his promises have not been fulfilled. He adds that it is now time for the head of state to fulfill his campaign promises.
He staged a lawn protest demanding for the Republican president to address issues affecting the vulnerable youths in society, especially students. This is Joseph Chishimba, the campaign coordinator for the Higher Education Learning Scholarship Board Bursary Reduction Campaign. Mr. Chishimba claims that the head of state has made a number of promises to the youths which he has not fulfilled.
The policies which govern the bursary loans offered by the government, they are very unfair, they are very oppressive, and they are very draconian. We've tried to engage the government on several occasions, but it has proved futile. It's very unfair for us, the beneficiaries who access these loans, to have to pay back double the loan that we got from the government. Mind you, this is assistance from the government. And secondly, the deductions which they put, the monthly deduction which they have put, they are very high. So it's becoming very, very challenging for us to have to cope with life. Because most of us, we access these loans because we come from very poor backgrounds. So when we graduate, we become breadwinners of our families. And secondly, most of us, the beneficiaries, when we graduate, we barely get above 5,000. The average that we get is 5,000 kwacha. Now, if the government is deducting to amounts of 2,100 from a 5,000 or from a 3,000, and you have to fend off for your family, it becomes very challenging for us to, to cope with life.
He is appealing to the head of state to fulfill his campaign promises.
The president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, when he was in opposition, he sympathized with us, the beneficiaries, and he promised that once elected into power, he was going to, first of all, he was going to suspend the loan deductions until the economy stabilizes. Number two, he was going to scrape off the interest rate from these bursaries. Number three, he was going to reduce the loan deductions to 2.5% of an individual's basic salary. But he would like to entertain the thought that probably he hasn't forgotten about his campaign promises, the campaign promises that he was making in opposition, because most of the graduates and students voted based on those promises. So today we are filing in our position paper to the Ministry of Education. So this is a loan protest that we are doing so that everyone becomes aware that actually we filed in our position paper to the Ministry of Education. The president has to honor his campaign promises.
Mr. Chishimba walked from Kafio roundabout to the Ministry of Education. Mary Siatata Shamalime, Crown TV News.